I'm probably able to make a few enemies by giving this hot take, but here we go. I think Spring Delthea is the best unit on this new banner, period. Hey folks, and welcome back to another video. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. I guess I can call this an episode 2 of Deep Dive because this is probably going to get branded as such. We're going to be talking about the new Spring Delthea a little bit more in depth now that everything has finally come out. It still hasn't reached reset yet, so I haven't gotten actual playtesting time with this Delthea yet, but let's be honest, I'm going to be doing a lot with that Delthea because this Delthea is absolutely ridiculous in their skill power. Because honestly, and I think this is very reasonable to say, but if there were no such things as duos or harmonics and any of that sort of stuff, this Delthea would be the main cell on a banner, period. Even like Ascendance, like she would be in that space to be the star of the banner because of how absolutely ridiculous this unit is, honestly. And it really just comes down to the perf. It's just there's so much going on there, but it's very simple in what it's trying to do, and it just makes it so that anything that could possibly be done for counterplay is very minimal. And I think that's nice to at least have some more fun toys around like that. At least, well, because it's not like I've had a unit like this before from SOV, and now I kind of do. So it's just like, there you go. But let's really go over on why Delthea is this good based on this perf and just how seamless everything kind of works together, to be honest. So the perf really comes down to a few bits. So first off, you got Slaying, which I mean makes it so that you get specials basically a lot quicker in that regard. You make any 2 turn cooldown specials into 1, which makes things super easy to proc off in terms of getting any more final damage in. Then you've got just the Mega Menace that you've got, the Speed Res Menace, but it's 5 spaces apparently because that works out. Then you also get some Speed and Res debuffs on your enemy during combat if Delthea herself has a buff or the foe is penalized. And then based on the amount of bonuses and penalties that you've got, you get a couple of effects, one of which being your own personal unit null follow-up, and the other one being that units cannot counterattack you straight up. So yeah, like it's pretty obvious to say that being able to deny counterattacks period is an amazing thing, and that's because it really is. Like, I don't think I really need to dance around that whole idea. Being able to deny your enemies a counterattack period is amazing, especially when you're able to secure your own doubles as well for even less of that. And I was really curious to see how her stats would really line up, and then doing the whole, I guess, math, you could say, to make sure that you can understand the whole speed thresholds going on here, because I think that's the main part in what was going to make or break this Delthea. And I mean, her base stats right here, I mean, I think it says enough for you to at least be able to understand. You've got 43 attack, which is absolutely nuts for dealing basically just insane nuke damage, which I mean she was always kind of known for. And then 40 speed, which is good enough, but I mean it's not the best. However, you've also got to take into account that she's also got a speed super boon as well. So if you just have a one-off copy, you're already getting her up to 44 base speed, which is nice in itself, but then you also have to take into account all the other stuff that's going on. So it's like when you get the Bright Shot Egg finally in here, you have the visible debuffs, then you have the in-combat debuffs, and then you also have Speed and Res Far Trace going off that acts basically like just getting rid of 3 additional. And then optionally, you've also got Attack Speed Catch 4, and then Rouse Attack Speed 4, which is giving you even more. So you're basically going through a huge amount of thresholds to really get this sort of stuff going off. Because if we really had to set any sort of, I guess, do any sort of math at this point, you've got, what, -6 from the debuffs in combat, and then out of combat, so that's already 12, 15, and then possibly 7 to 9 here. So that's more like 22 or 24. And then like, okay, so in total, it's sort of giving you, if you get all of your conditions met through this base kit, I think it's like a 30 speed deficit sort of thing, I would imagine. At least that's what it's looking like to me, unless my math is wrong, but you get the idea. She might not have the fastest visible speed, but she has enough speed and enough skills in her kit to make it just work out to where she is almost guaranteed to be able to double. Maybe not some of like the super speedy units, but I think it's good enough to where you can possibly reach that deficit itself. And even if you don't, remember that you're not just getting debuffs on their speed as well, you're also giving it on their res. So that is possibly 30 more damage that you're doing. So it's like, there you go. I don't think I need to say much more besides that, at least for that sort of thing. You kind of know what you're getting over here. It's just a nuke that makes it so that you can't really counterattack her at all unless you're, say, Ascended Fjorm, who honestly I would imagine is like her only actual hard counter, because being able to disable counterattacks is just, it just works, because there's not really much in the game right now for counterplay. I mean, yes, you have no counter disrupt, but who's actually using that? Really? Like, nobody except for, well, Ascended Fjorm, who has it, I'm pretty sure, built into her weapon, I believe, right? As far as I remember. So it's like, you don't really have too many people who are going to go out of their way to make sure that that kind of happens. That's why Wind Sweep is incredibly popular right now, especially on certain units. Those who have it and those who can actually run it, like Dagger units, for example, who can run the Courtly Fan combo. So then we also have just, if you really want to do an actual build out sort of stuff or just low investment, you really don't have to do much more besides that, because her base kit kind of just does everything that you need her to do in order to succeed. Because you have the attack speed catch 4 going off, inflicting, really it's getting its stuff off of penalties, which is one thing that she is giving an abundance of, as well as making sure that the foe is at 100% HP, which, let's be honest, most of the time that's always happening, so that's not really that much of a worry. Although I feel like this is the skill that has the most room for interpretation, I feel, because you can run any sort of offensive A skill that you want here. It's just that this one technically gives you the most you know, output possible, and you're almost always going to be getting this just because of how reliant she is, or self-reliant she's got, and being able to proc that herself. The same can also be said for Speed Res Fartrace as well, because I mean, she's an offensive nuke and doesn't really have much else otherwise. I mean, you can really see it kind of here. It's like she has a super banded defense as well, but it's not like she needs it because of the counterattacks. But if you're not able to reposition her after the combat, and there's somebody who can take her out on the enemy phase, it's like, well, what do you do about that? Kanto. And that's what you kind of have here, if you're at least being smart with it. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think you really need to worry too much about Makoto's, because frankly speaking, it's Makoto. You're not really worried about Makoto itself. You're worried about Kanto control. And I don't think that's going to be in too many places, unless somebody really wants to do everything in their power to basically pocket their Makoto into any amount of survival and like 8th rage defense perhaps. And I think book 3 prior summoners duels, because there's no way in hell that Makoto is going to be working in regular. I mean, some people will try to make it work, but it's going to be less successful than in book 3 prior, I would imagine. But I don't think you really have to worry about the Kanto control much at all. So it's like, it doesn't really matter. And even then, you still have the stuff there to where you're getting the -3 speed and res. So it's just like, you know, a kind of a bonus there. Since it's not like you really need to run anything else, frankly speaking, since, I mean, you're blocking counterattack, so it's not like you need to run disruption or desperation. So there you go. And then the cream of the crop here, you've got rouse attack and speed 4, which kind of ties everything together in a bow by not only giving you some visible attack and speed, just for being just alone, not next to anybody, but you also give yourself null panic as well to avoid any sort of possibility of anybody panicking you and taking away those visible buffs. So it's just like, hey, I'm just freely buffed and I can do whatever. And the combo that, I mean, it's like, even if you're not making the speed threshold or you don't have enough to get to the 18 deficit of bonuses and penalties, you're already easily just making the +6 to where you can guarantee your own double. So it's like, there you go. But even then, if you're going up against the right enemies, which you should be, you're going to be just getting the preventing counterattacks just straight up easily. It's not even a challenge. And I mean, Glimmer is fine since, I mean, damage output, unless you really want to run Moonbow, which I guess you could. And then attack speed Soul 3 is just an example. I mean, she's already going to be alone as is, so it's just like, hey, want to do a little bit more for being alone. You can opt in for other stuff like Blaze Sessions too, or whatever you might want. But it's like, whatever. Then you've got, I mean, if you really want to do like a weird high investment +10 sort of thing, I mean, you can really go in on the solo sort of stuff if you really want to. Not much really changes, let's be honest. And I mean, you can already see like the stats at +10 as well, that it's like, you have plenty of attack and you have definitely enough speed to make things work out. Something I did want to check out, which I feel like you can kind of do if you really wanted to, was run a life and death set, because I mean, I kind of do that on my main Delthea right now, and it's not something that's unpopular, so it's like, it's something that kind of works, you know? And I feel like you can kind of get away with it. I don't know if you'd really want to do AoE spamming unless you have, say, a Pent who's able to support and get down that special even sooner, for example. I mean, if you really wanted to. But it's like, I guess you kind of could. I mean, you have all those offensive stats where it can work out. And I mean, if you just have that, it's like, okay, that kind of works out. I mean, just going off that, you have all the visible stats you could ever need, just straight up, and a few things that are helping you here and there in combat and just buffing you in general. That just makes it so that, hey, you have high base stats and nothing can really else touch you at that point. I don't know if this is really just more of a safety net, but it's just like, you know, it's an option. And I guess the only time this would be kind of weird is if you're trying to play ARO, and this will just immediately soak a Bright Shrine. It doesn't matter, but it's like, but that's probably why you'd run a regular sort of set, I would imagine. And then we have more high end, and this is getting a little bit more memey, I will be honest. And this is actually a little silly. Also, you can see a set of stats here too. Frankly speaking, if you wanted to be a little meme, and it technically works, hear me out, you can actually probably run a menace skill if you don't want to run a rouse. But frankly speaking, the one you're going to be getting the most value out of, technically, would be attack defense menace. Only because you're already giving off a speed and res menace from your weapon that it's like, okay, why not debuff all of their stats completely? And it's just like, sure, why not? However, it's like, you're going to have to need that unit to be, or that foe to be within 4 spaces to get hit by all of it together, but that shouldn't be too difficult, frankly speaking. I mean, 5 spaces is incredibly generous, and 4, I mean, that's just, you know, cake on top. I also put attack speed unity there, only really for the sake of making sure that, hey, even if you do end up taking like a debuff or two, like getting panicked, you're still going to be fine with attack and speed unity, mostly because it's just reversing everything and doing a little bit more, so it's just like a safety net in that regard to make sure that you aren't getting screwed over by not having a panic. But it's like, it's whatever. And even at that point, even if you're missing out on some of the visible buffs, you're still technically getting +6 attack. You might not be getting the speed, but you already have more than enough to work out for that, and it's not like it's really going anywhere anyway. If you're getting a speed debuff in any regard, like visibly, that's just going to get amped right back up thanks to the unity. And it's just like, okay, sure, why not? And then I guess last but not least, really nothing is changing here. But we have like just an arena set, just understanding a little bit more of these visible stats. Because I mean, frankly speaking, I would probably use this this Delthea in arena, in some regard at least. And I mean, this would help me a lot on win season personally, just because I could just give the middle finger straight to Legendary Sigurd, because that's fun. But running a B-Dual Cavalry set just kind of makes sense, I feel, at that point, because, I mean, well, obviously for scoring, but it's kind of pretty in itself. You can always change things around in that regard, for stuff like Pawns of Loki, even if you're not reaching the highest base HP, but you can easily get back up on that. It's like, you can kind of work at that, since, I mean, Being able to just get rid of any sort of counterattacks is just fun in general and just makes sense for a lot of modes universally. Even if you're not doing anything like super competitive or whatever, it's like you can get things done in PvE easily. And Loki kind of counts with that too. And I mean, Rupture Sky is also another 2 turn cooldown special that you can really get off. So it's just like, hey, that's just an option if you really want to run that. And I mean, I really don't think I need to say much more about this because there's not too much variation that you need to do. Unless you're trying to just meme around or just want to do something weird, which I mean, can happen. But frankly speaking, that's not really necessary with this unit when Delthea has everything that she needs from the get-go in order to succeed in what she's trying to do. And it just, everything's kind of just an add-on after that point. It's just like, she's so good at what she does. And there is very little to kind of disrupt that sort of thing. Which is why I think that she is the best unit on this banner compared to like Sonya, which I mean, to be fair, maybe I have a little bit of a weird biasy sort of thing there in terms of seeing just like, ooh, disabling counterattacks. That's so fun. But frankly speaking, I think that speaks for itself. If you have a unit that's able to disable counterattacks with ease compared to whatever Sonya does with like the bonus damage or whatever it is, I honestly kind of forget, I'm not going to lie. I would take the disabling counterattacks any day of the week. And I don't think that this sort of playstyle is going to get punished, at least for a while. Just because I don't know if Intelligent Systems really has any sort of plans in terms of kind of nerfing the potency of Wind Sweep and all that sort of stuff. Just disabling counterattacks, period. I'm not too sure about that yet, but I mean, that could always change. But even if then, I still believe that this Delthea is going to be a really good unit for a long time coming, I feel. And I would word that another way, but let's be honest, I probably shouldn't, and I'm not going to. But this Delthea is just incredibly, incredibly good at what she tries to do. And I think that'll be like that for a long time coming. So if you want to get a Delthea, I would probably recommend it in a way. But that goes without being said that you probably want to give some sort of stat investments because, frankly speaking, if you're starting off at 40, maybe 44 if you want to give the speed super boost, good luck with that one, but you're going to need a little bit more help maybe, I think. And that's where Dragonflyers would obviously come into some regard. And hey, they haven't brought in the next batch of them, so she's up for candidate to get 10 within a few months, so that's nice. But overall, I mean, I don't think I need to say much there. She just kind of does everything that she needs to do and just give her like a tiny, tiny little bit of attention to make sure that she can get through her speed threshold and you'll be fine. Just straight up. And it's like, this unit is way too good, honestly, I feel. But that's just me. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this this deep dive on Spring Delthea. If you want to see more of these sort of things, let me know in the comments below. Let me know who you would like me to possibly do a deep dive on next. Let me know what you think of Delthea overall in the description below about her as a unit, obviously. Let me know if you guys agree with this hot take. Maybe it's a hot take, maybe it's not, whatever. And if you like this sort of content and want to see more from me, make sure to hit that like, comment, and subscribe. Whatever that even was, that jumble. Also, I heard that the notification bell will play a breath sound effect number 2 if you hit it, so make sure to hit that. And check out the socials in the description below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, whenever that happens. All right, bye, folks. Thanks for watching.